can confidently say that we live in an era of the best fragrances by Fragrance World in the last 10 years. Liquid Brun and Azure Oud. Let's talk about them.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern, niche, or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. This is a highly requested video and one that I didn't put aside for a specific review on both of these fragrances. I thought about separating them, but it's been a little bit of time since they've been out, and I've been rocking these for the longest, actually. So this release was around the time that I was traveling. I was going to Cancun, etc. And when I got back, I just didn't make a full review. I was making a bunch of shorts. So the best fragrances currently right now from Fragrance World, and arguably the best period, Liquid Brun and also Azure Oud. Starting things off, we're going to take a look at the presentation of both of these, which are exactly the same. And actually, a lot of the bottles that come in this design are pretty heavy hitting ass fragrances. They've got quite a few. In fact, they have Luscious, this one right here, which is Yum Pistachio. It's gelato ice cream style DNA. That's actually a banger too. They've got a couple of other ones, Sweet Paradise and Meringue. Those are mostly for women, but the quality of all of these are phenomenal. I would say that these are the top three that come in these bottles. So Liquid Brun in itself is a clone of Althair. Althair has a bunch of notes of like cinnamon, vanilla, ambroxan, and orange flower. It's one of the best fragrances of PDM since, I would say personally, since Layton. In terms of its versatility, in terms of its complement factor, which it has gotten me myself. I've purchased every single one of my PDM bottles the day they release at retail. So I spent about $450 or $425, I don't really know exactly what, because I'm always buying fragrances literally as soon as they drop. This is one that I knew was going to be pretty hyped, but initially I wasn't really taken or blown away. And the reason being is because it smelled like a pretty simple style vanilla fragrance and orange flower. It was after a couple of wearings and the compliments that I got that I fell absolutely in love with it and realized that it's actually pretty damn versatile and really damn good. Liquid Brun then released about a year later, and it was actually pretty hard to find in the market. There was a little burst of it, maybe about 500. People bought them and it was gone, and we were left for like 6 months. People were getting GTA 6 before this was even coming out. So now it's readily available. Check the links down in the description where you can find this fragrance, and what it basically smells like is Althair. So you get this syrupy, sparkling styled ambroxan and cinnamon, vanilla, and orange flower fragrance. It's a little bit floral, powdery, vanillic, and it's so damn sexy. It is leaning on the masculine side of things, but ladies who are okay with wearing powdered dry vanillas with a little bit of spice, you'll be okay with this one. The difference, and the main difference between Liquid Brun and Althair, is going to be in the quality of the ambroxan and cinnamon. The cinnamon and ambroxan combination in Althair comes off a little bit more sparkling or carbonated, if you will. So it's kind of literally like the carbonation that you'll find in your fizz. This one pops off a little bit more, and also giving it just a very slight sharpness that you'll get, or I should say crispness that you'll get more so with the Althair in itself. Liquid Brun does have that crisp ambroxan nature, that spice kick as well, except it's toned down just a little bit and more ambery. The vanilla quality in both of these is very prominent and high quality smelling, except for the Liquid Brun, it seems like it's going more towards the ambery side of things rather than dry and powdery as this. The main differences that we're talking about here, gentlemen and ladies, is probably about like 10% different, because I find this to be about 85 to 90% at best of a clone of Althair. I have Althair and I do find that it's a little bit more effervescent, a bit more brighter and lighter, more dimensional, if you will, than Liquid Brun. Whereas Liquid Brun is a bit thicker, ambery, and more creamy, I should say syrupy. Both fragrances are not syrupy. This isn't necessarily the most syrupy fragrance in the world, and it still is relatively close. It still does wear pretty light, leaning into its versatility, and it performs like a champ. Althair in itself, I get about 10 hours. I wouldn't really say too much more than that, but Liquid Brun actually outperforms it because of its ambery nature. So sometimes whenever the scent profile changes, it could be worse or better. In this case, I think it's better, but it also can affect the performance, and this is another case where it affected it for the better. The scent profile in itself, though, I will say that that sparkling nature, the effervescence, and the light quality of it does make Althair smell just a little bit better in that sense. Is it worth the premium? That's up to you. For the price tag, I wouldn't personally ever guess that you spent less than $200 on something like this, especially smelling it in the air. In terms of the performance, back to that, actually, this is 10 plus hours. So you've got more performance out of this one. Doesn't necessarily mean that the quality of the scent is going to be, better. In terms of the projection, it's a beastly room filler, bro, for like 3 hours minimum. The occasions for this one is hanging out with the bros, going to the office, going to the mall, dates, special occasions, and the season is going to be fall, winter, and the springtime. It'll do just fine. I will say that if you were to compare them side by side, the Althair does smell a bit more expensive, and it's very specifically because of, like I said, its more effervescent nature. That doesn't necessarily mean much because $450 versus around $60. This still smells way above its price point, but this is a note to the people who are selling this: it should not be more than like 65 bucks because then it defeats the purpose. This still smells like a much more expensive fragrance. At the time of making this video, it's going for around $60, and I think that's more than fair. I would personally like to see it stay at that price range and below, but I can't really control the market. So what I will say is that it smells niche. The quality is absolutely outstanding. It does outlast the Althair. However, that ultimate refinement will go to Althair. That is the sacrifice with going for something like this. That is amazing, if you ask me. For $60, it's honestly, I've worn this more than I've worn my Althair. Long story short, that's what it is. My rating for this fragrance is a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10 fragrance by Fragrance World. Very easy to like. The compliments have been absolutely ridiculous on this one, and it's just next level stuff. So if you're looking for the best in terms of consistency, quality, and in terms of projection performance, Liquid Brun is phenomenal. Moving on to the next one. This is called Azure Oud, also by Fragrance World, obviously. And this is a clone of Oud Marcuja, an extremely expensive bottle of like oud and passion fruit. It basically smells like an inspo of Ombre Nomade in itself, just added jammy ass passion fruit. Now this still has a very dry and inky style of oud in the back front or in the back of the fragrance, which kind of smells like ballpoint ink. I personally love it. I love the note of oud. I've always been in love with the note of oud, and this one adds a bit more of those fruits to something like Ombre Nomade. It actually has a lot of resemblances, that birch tarry nature, the smoky nature, the oud, the incense, the saffron, etc. I will say that it does give it another interesting factor to it and more of a dimension to the fragrance in itself. So Azure Oud versus Oud Marcuja. This is one that actually is even closer to the compared with fragrance. So this is 90% close. It's even closer than what Liquid Brun is to Althair. The one thing I will say is that the quality of the oud shines in this one just a little bit more, but for those of you who are untrained noses when it comes to oud, you're not really going to be able to detect the difference. It's absolutely ridiculous. And what I will say is that difference is going to be the dryness, and the inky nature is a bit denser in Oud Marcuja, and that's pretty much about it. The other factor I will say with this one is going to be the longevity and projection of Oud Marcuja is absolutely nuclear. It's not going anywhere until you wash your clothing, maybe even twice. As far as Azure Oud, it is pretty beastly stuff. It's going to give you 10 plus hours. It might last on clothing to the next day, and it'll project for a solid 4 or 5 hours, but it just doesn't have the unnecessarily beast mode performance of Oud Marcuja. I wouldn't say unnecessarily, but this is already beast mode in itself across the boards, but this is just next level nuclear stuff. That's pretty much it. In terms of how many times I can spray Oud Marcuja, it's generally speaking around 5 to 7 max. And this one I can go about like 6 to 8 max. But even then, most of you guys out there won't be even spraying it that much. So 90% close. It absolutely smells much more expensive than the price tag. Something like this little decant goes anywhere from like, I think it was like $80 for a 10 ml. You're getting 100 mls. Is this a 100 or a 2.7? Regardless of the fact, it smells amazing. To get 90%, to get even freaking 80% close, I would personally be happy with that, but it does you even better. It takes a back seat in terms of the performance, but even then, like I said, it's still fantastic. Occasions for this is going to be hanging out with the bros, even going to dates and special occasions. Ultimately special occasions. And the seasons for this one, you can do the fall, the winter, and early springtime. I rocked it during the summer, did just fine, but I wouldn't recommend, people who are not familiar with oud to try and do that initially, at least. You want to get testy, do what you want, but it'll be the most fitting for those other occasions. Final thoughts on this, I would give this a 9.5 out of 10. I really, really enjoy it, and I think that quality and price value and what you're getting back, it's a 10. But just the scent profile in itself, I think that Althair absolutely takes the cake in terms of mass appeal, compliment factor, versatility in general. I love Oud, I love Oud Marcuja, but 9.5 in comparison to Althair is fair. Last but not least, I wasn't expecting to even talk about this one, but it was really good and I wore this last week. It's called Luscious. This smells like those Nutella, chestnut, creamy pistachio vibes, and it lasts all day. I actually like this one a lot more than I do Khair Pistachio, which is by Paris Corner, and even Affection by Lataffa. Reason being is because it's in the middle grounds of both. It's got the diffusivity, it's very fluffed up, and it's almost frothy in nature. You can kind of smell like it's whipped up gelato, basically. It doesn't have too much of cloying factors like Affection. It's very thick and creamy. I love Affection still, but it's a lot more thick and creamy, can go borderline cloying. And Khair Pistachio does go a little bit fresher and focus a little bit on those citruses. This is somewhere in between both. The quality, this is absolutely niche, and the longevity for this lasted all day on clothing, and projection was 2+ hours. It's gonna be phenomenal for this fall time, which is just right. Honestly, all these, this is the time to grab them. And that's why I was just sitting around thinking, reading my comments on Instagram and TikTok, and people were asking very specifically about both of these. So I figured, you know what, let me just talk about it since the fall time is coming right around the corner. So I've also seen a couple of Reddit groups, which I am in. It is the Real AROMATIX. Real AROMATIX is really me on the Reddit group. And sometimes, very occasionally, if I have time, I like to pop in and just, you know, give a 2 cents here and there. So what I did see was people were asking very specifically about this, and people are giving mad props to Liquid Brun and Azure Oud for very good reason, bro. There's never ever going to be, nor has ever been, a scenario where I would ever fake hype some bullshit that I don't like. If I like it, I'm gonna hype it. If forget hype it, I'm gonna talk good about it. And if I don't like it, I just won't talk about it. I won't waste your time nor mine. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Let me know down in the comment section if you have any one of these. And until the next one, peace.